We have a winner. Last week we announced that we'd be giving away 2 softbox lights to 1 lucky subscriber to commemorate reaching 100 subscribers on YouTube, and the results are in. Now, first and foremost, we just want to thank everybody who's ever listened to the Actors Instrument podcast, to all of our followers and subscribers for tapping in every week. Look, we hope that this show is as beneficial to you as we believe it has the capacity to be. So, thank you. Now, without further ado, drum roll, please. The winner is Kiara Prusmack. Kiara, congratulations. Apologies if I mispronounce your last name. Be sure to shoot us a DM at Actors Instrument Podcast on Instagram or an email to contact@actorsinstrument.com to claim your prize. All right, y'all, back to the show.
Oh, you're up the street. Man, we could have done this in person. You up the street.
bro.
I'm crying. What's going on, everybody? My name is Hassiem Muhammad, and you are listening to The Actor's Instrument, where we discuss the essential qualities you need to stand out in the entertainment industry. The most common piece of advice that I've received as an actor from actors who have been in the business much longer than me is to stick with it. Don't quit no matter what. If you can weather the storm, then you will find success, or success will find you. But our guest this week on The Actor's Instrument quit the business for 4 years. Had some things that he had to figure out, relationship with the business and personal life. Quit for 4 years, was inspired by an episode of True Detective, and came back with a vengeance. He's been on a roll ever since. Jeorge Bennett Watson is known for his roles in Blue Bloods, FBI Most Wanted, The Wire, the first season of The Wire, and a whole host of film and theater productions, including plays out of the Williamstown Theater Festival, New York's Roundabout Theater, and, fun fact, the theater where I did my first professional production, where I got my equity card, the Pioneer Theater in Salt Lake City.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. George, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Hassiem. I really appreciate it, brother. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I was looking over your resume and I saw you did Fences at the Pioneer, yeah?
Mm-hmm. I was Bono. I've been blessed to do Fences 4 times now. I played Bono twice. The first time I did it, I was Lyons, who was the older son.
brother. Yeah.
And then Troy. I did Troy down in North Carolina. Yeah.
Nice. Fences, it's the first August Wilson play I ever did when I was in high school.
Who were you in Fences?
I played Corey.
Corey, yes. That's the only one I didn't get. I think I'm aged out now. I think Corey, but
Yeah. No, that's also, and I think you were at the Pioneer maybe just the year or two before I did Sweat. I did Sweat in 2019.
Yeah, I remember when they did that. I remember, yeah. And also the funny thing is when we did Fences, it was the same year that the Netflix production of it came out.
Oh, that's dope.
So people were thinking we were somehow connected to it because we were so close to Sundance too.
Yeah.
It was we had audience members like, so are you connected to the Denzel production? I was like, in spirit we are, but no.
In spirit. I love it.
Not directly though. No.
Got you. And I'm trying to think. And was Jimmy JJ Jeter in that production with you as well?
Yes, he was. Jimmy is doing big things. Jimmy Jeter, yes. Also, Biko Eisen Martin, who is killing it right now in New York.
Biko was in that show. I just saw Biko in Table 17. I just saw him. Yeah, we both were just in the audience of a preview of Purpose on Broadway. I
was just talking about Purpose last night with my friend. Like, she wants to go see that.
I don't know Biko personally. I don't know him, but we've multiple times have run into each other. Yeah,
Biko is good people, and that is a talented brother, boy. He's a beast, as we say. Yeah, I dig Biko. Yeah, that was the first time I met Biko. He invited me to Table 17. I love that play. He was Lyons. In that production of Fences. Yeah.
Nice. Wow, small world. Truly small.
I know. Yeah.
It's crazy. Well, speaking of August Wilson, you just closed a production of 2 Trains Running at Hartford Stage, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, we closed on February 16th. Yeah.
Word. How was that? How was that experience?
Bruh, I was at dinner last night with a friend, and I was just telling her that I can honestly say up until this point, it was probably the most across the board cohesive and rewarding production I've ever been involved with in terms of having a director who was giving and available, having an amazing stage management staff. Everyone in the cast was like top flight, but not only extremely talented and flexible, but also just really good people.
Mm.
Everybody gave each other their space. Everybody, respected each other. We definitely took care of our sister, Taji Senior, who played Risa, because that play, we have the one sister, the one woman, and that play can be really tough on women because she's doing a lot of running around,
Yeah.
uh, and then the theater itself, Hartford Stage. I'd never worked there before. The our AD, Amelia, I don't want to mispronounce her last name, um, was incredibly supportive, incredibly present. We're even talking about getting the whole gang back together and coming back and maybe doing something like Seven Guitars, or
Hey.
like making it up, because the people in Hartford, and all races came out to see it, but my personally, my the group that I'm most interested in reaching are the Black people, or my Black community.
Yeah.
And Black community in Hartford, we had a blackout night, and bruh,
They showed up?
they showed up and showed out.
Come on.
Every little thing that maybe some audiences didn't get, they got.
Mm.
No, because
Love
it
that.
was the Black vernacular, the Black costuming, the Black speech, the way we carry. Like the brother who plays my boy Pastel Pringle, who played Wolf. They had him in like 70s pimp attire. And I'm upstairs, so my character doesn't come on to the second scene. The first scene is almost 35 minutes long. So I
Mm.
have a long time to get ready. And they're talking about my character a lot in that first scene. So when he comes on, they see the costume that my boy Devario K. Simmons, who was our costume designer, he hooked everybody up. I heard how they responded to him as soon as he walked out on stage. And I was like, yeah, the people were there. So brother August, brother Wilson gave us such a gift with these 10 plays. And there's a conversation out there that August Wilson is no longer viable, or is no longer necessary. And I gently push back on that. I know that we have to move forward, and there are other stories that need to be told, other marginalized communities. We definitely want to tell more fully evolved stories for women, and that may be something that people, kind of have some reservations with about August. But I gotta say, man, like being up there and saying those words, someone told me, and this is one of the things I carried away with it. Someone said that everybody was dropping pearls. Everybody was dropping, every character told you something in their speeches or their monologues that you walked away with, to the point where you had to almost take out a notebook and like, oh, Wes said this, or Risa said that, or Holloway said that, or Memphis said that. So to I'm a bit long-winded, I apologize.
Oh, no, this is great.
Uh yeah, suffice to say, brother, I'm still kind of carrying that production around with me, and I'm about to go to Delaware to start King Lear with resident ensemble players playing Duke of Cornwall, who's completely different from West. I played West in Two Trains Running.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm really trying to, I don't like that word trying. I'm allowing myself to find the bridge between West and the Duke of Cornwall,
Mm.
while still living my personal off-screen, off-stage life, solidifying my relationships with my children, with my friends, with my significant others. Um, that's why I really dig the opportunity to be a part of this podcast, but just the title, the actor's instrument. It's always been something that I've personally been very invested in developing my own instrument. So
Mm.
doing that play gave me more tools to pull from the experiences. And I definitely took a lot of notes, and I definitely journaled through the entire process. And so it benefited me greatly, brother, and probably in ways that I can't even articulate right now, you know?
I love to hear that. I love to hear that. And I feel like, man, every time I talk to somebody about doing some of Wilson's work, that seems to be the response. It's just, and that's why, like, I mean, you can critique anybody, and it's not that August is without flaws or that his work is without flaws, but it's like, but it's different and it is special. And ultimately, when you do the research, you know that August, he just wrote what he heard. He'd be sitting in the bar writing on napkins, in the Hill District. And so you can't one thing you can say is that it's not truthful.
Yeah,
Ev
we definitely. I didn't mean to cut you off, brother. Go ahead.
no, I should say every single thing you hear is like it's what he heard. He's just writing what he heard.
I mean, he had a great ear. He was a poet first and foremost, and we had the privilege and the honor to have one of the direct Wilson warriors, Jerome Preston Bates, in the cast with us, who portrayed Holloway. And he would tell us in rehearsals or backstage or when we were about to go on, he would share these Wilson stories with us. And because he played Floyd Barton, and he originated the role of Floyd Barton in Seven Guitars,
Mhm.
and he actually played West before.
Okay.
He even said that sometimes when he was in a scene with me as West and they would call my name, he would instinctively turn his head because he remembered playing West. Um,
Wow.
but he blessed us with stories, and also our director, Gilbert McCauley, who is an amazing director. If anyone out there gets an opportunity to audition for him, go in and put your foot in it, because if you get cast by that brother, he will bring out the best performance in you.
Mm,
Jerome was able to bless us with these direct stories, like getting pages the night before preview for Seven Guitars, and just having to step up. And
yeah.
and I think the thing that you said, which is most important, is he was a reflection of those times. A lot of people would talk about, we say nigger a lot in August Wilson plays, and some people invariably, because I've done Two Chains Running, Jitney, Piano Lesson, and Fences 4 times. And so I've done a few of his plays now. And I'm always saying the N word. I'm always dropping nigga, nigga, nigga. And so there's always someone in the talkback who is like, how do you feel about saying that? And I'm just like, well, it's a reflection of the times. Like that's how we spoke to each other. That's how we spoke
Mm,
of each other back then. And, I think that's one of the necessary ingredients of art is it can't always be clean. It can't always be homogenized and
mm,
cleaned up for, we need, there's going to be generations after I'm gone who are not going to know about the late 60s and 70s, which is when Two Trains Running is set, or
right.
any of the other decades that he set his pieces in. And that's why I think that they are so viable and necessary. Because they're almost like they're time capsules.
Yeah.
And when you get the right creative team, your designers and your director and your actors, then you transport people. And I feel that's what we did. Yeah.
Heard. Heard. Yeah. Now you're about to head off and do this production of King Lear.
Hmm.
Just curious about your process. Can you take us through, whether it be for theater or TV or film? What's your process when you've been cast, you got the role? How do you
Yeah.
prepare for that first day, either of rehearsal or to arrive on set?
I read the play as many times as I can, and then I pull out all of my lines and read them together as if they're one long monologue.
Mm,
To sort of imagine, well, not imagining, like what I do in doing that is I create a beginning, a middle, and an end. Like I know where my character is going to end up. And so then I just figure out, how do I get there? Now, I mean, we haven't started yet. Our director is Jackson Gay, who's pretty well known here in New York. I don't know what her vision is going to be. I'm already having ideas. Cornwall is described as ruthless, calculating, power hungry, and that he performs one of the most violent physical acts in all of Shakespeare in gouging out the eyes of Gloucester. And so the first thing that came to my mind is it sounds like he's hurt because he wants to hurt other people. He's also described as sadistic. And I
mhm,
think that in real life, people who have sadistic tendencies have had harm or abuse perpetrated onto them. And one thing that I've been able to fold into my crafting of characters, and I want to say in the last 5 to 10 years, is
mhm,
as I have been able to get more comfortable with my own personal traumas, childhood traumas, abandonment issues, abuse,
mhm.
things like that, I've been able to sort of figure out where that character is on the trauma scale or
Sure.
on the mental health awareness scale. West was someone who experienced West from Two Chainz Running was someone who had experienced a trauma in losing his wife. Because it's said
Mm,
in the play, I believe West loved his wife. And there's
mm,
another time was like the only nigga West cared about was his wife. And he talks about his wife. And so I was at a place where my heart, Jeorge was at a place at the time with West, where my heart was very open to
mhm.
the idea of love. And so I was able to fold that into an imagination of having a wife who had died, and I buried her. So that was able to sort of ground me. With Cornwall, I'm going through the text. I'm looking at the relationship to Reagan, who is Cornwall's wife.
Mhm.
I feel like right now in a very rudimentary way, because I still haven't done a lot of the text work yet. I'm probably going to do that probably later today and tomorrow,
Okay.
and on my way down to Delaware. So just understanding how he deals with Reagan, why they got married, why he feels that they should have what they didn't get from Lear. It reminds me a lot of Secession, because
I
people
have.
talk about how Secession was really like Lear. And
Mhm,
so, and that was a really, I really like that show. I actually go back and watch it on repeat,
mhm.
especially Jeremy Strong's character. I was very drawn to his interpretation. So yeah, my process is, and then the first real thing I do is get off book as soon as possible, so then I can go in and play.
Yeah.
So know the language, know the train tracks that the playwright gave you, which is the text,
Yeah.
and then just receive and respond, observe, take in, and then just keep developing that rehearsal after rehearsal after rehearsal. You leave the rehearsal space, you go back to your space, you rest, you eat,
Yeah.
and then you get back into it. It becomes like an all-inclusive thing for me. And because I've been blessed to work steadily in this business, knock on wood, um, a lot of the ghosts of old characters will inform the next character. So I'm sure that there's going to be something in West that, even though it may not directly correlate, it could be like, oh, he's completely unlike that.
Oh,
So I've
sure.
established that I can touch that sensibility, that mindset, that mentality. And then Cornwall might be someone who doesn't care if his wife died.
Mhm.
So you can operate from the absence of love and care.
Okay.
um, and I will say that for me personally, getting a better understanding of my own mental health and where I am on that journey
Mhm.
has helped me embody characters in a more indelible and realistic and humanistic way.
Mm, mm. Thank you for taking us through that.
No
Um,
problem.
Now you just mentioned, you've been blessed to work pretty consistently, and as I said earlier when I was reading out a couple of your credits, you were in the first season of The Wire, which is
Mhm.
arguably the greatest television show of all time, and it premiered over 20 years ago. But as I understand it, you've kind of been in and out of the industry over
Mhm.
the years. Do you
Mhm.
mind sharing with us why, you've taken time over the years to step
Yeah.
away and come back?
Yeah, well, The Wire, I shot that in 2001 or 2 or early 2000s. We did not know what it was going to be. Uh, a lot of little interesting stories. I met Michael B. Jordan's mom on set when he
Mhm.
was a kid. He didn't have all the muscles and all, you know. But I remember her talking about. I didn't meet him, but I saw him shooting, because we were shooting. Because I went to college in Baltimore, but at the time I was living in Washington D.C. And so I took the train over, shot it, and we were at a project. So I was in 3 episodes in that first season,
Mhm.
3 or 4 episodes. And the first episode was establishing me as a drug dealer. Marvin Browning was my character's name. And so we were on lunch break, and this sister came up to me, and we were talking about it. She's like, yeah, I got my son. I got him in arts programs and monologue competition. I said, what's your son's name? She said, Michael Jordan. I was like, Michael Jordan? She's like, well, Michael B. Jordan. And I was like, wow. I was like, Michael Jordan's one of my favorite players.
Mhm.
So then that's like a little small trivia thing. Did that in the early 2000s, left DC in 2007, moved to LA with my soon to be wife. got married, had my daughter when we were living out in LA. Things happened, the relationship um, deteriorated. You know, we went our separate ways.
Mhm.
And so I came back to New York I came back to the East Coast in 2010, not really understanding why I was acting.
Mhm.
You know, I was not the best husband. I'll be completely honest with you. I did not show up in the best way. And I was asking myself these questions like, am I just using acting for my own personal gain, my own desires, my own selfish desires? So I stepped away from it from 2010 to 2014. And I was just telling someone the story last night. The thing that got me interested in it again was the first season of True Detective.
Mm.
I watched the first season of True Detective and I sat there watching Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson and all those other people. And I was like, this is the kind of work I want to do. I got excited again. I started taking classes here in New York. I think the first set of classes I took was at ESPA, which is part of
Yeah.
primary stages. It confirmed for me that, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to be doing because I came back into it not really having anything to lose. So
Mm.
I went into one class, which was a monologue class, and I just said, I want to do this with an English accent. And he said, you do it. And so then there was still like this doubt in me. And so after I did, I was like, that was a really sucky accent. He was like, no, this is Andrew. He's like, no, it actually was really good. So the slow climb back into it, the slow development of self-confidence started then. And then yeah, it was just, you know, taking classes. I took classes at William Esper, read a lot of books, started working with Terry Knickerbocker for a couple years, who's out in industry Studio City, I think that's what they call it, Industry City,
Yeah.
in Brooklyn.
Meisner
The
technique. Yeah.
TK Studios, yeah. Which is he's a Meisner. He worked with William Esper. So that was the slow climb back. And then I was fortunate enough to be rooming with a beautiful couple, Melvin Abston and Kimberly Marable. And Melvin came home one day, and I didn't have an agent at the time.
Mhm.
And he said, "Hey, I got this audition for Fences. I can't do it. I have a gig. Do you want to do it?" I was like, "Well, how am I going to do it? This is with your agency." He's like, "Send me your stuff." And I had cobbled together an acting reel at that point of the few things that I'd done on TV out in LA and in DC,
Mhm.
my theater credits and my headshot. And what they did was they saw my credits and they said, "Well, we don't want to send you in for Bono. We want to send you in for Troy." And I was like,
Mhm.
"Okay." So Troy is the lead of Fences. And so this is how fortuitous it was. And this is how I knew that I was on the right path because I
Mhm.
grew up in North Carolina. And
Mhm.
my mom went to North Carolina A&T in Greensboro. My uncle taught, he was a professor of botany at North Carolina A&T. My cousin Shirley Grandy worked at North Carolina A&T.
Okay.
So the theater company that I was auditioning for was in Greensboro, North Carolina.
Triad stage.
Triad State, exactly. And so Tamara Islar was the director's name. And I'll never forget this, brother. I did the audition. And she said, so have you ever worked in North Carolina? I was like, actually, I'm from North Carolina. And she said, well, this is going to be a homecoming for you.
Hey.
But I almost cried. Because it was such a long journey from the hurt and pain that I felt from being separated from my daughter and, you know, and disappointing my wife and disappointing myself as a husband and
Mhm.
to just sort of building myself back up. And then to have it take place in the state that I was born in,
Right.
near the campus where my mom was A&T and my uncle was a professor. Like it just felt like everything made sense.
Wow, man, what a story.
Yeah,
What a full
it's
circle
crazy,
story.
man.
And
Yeah.
what's maybe crazier to me is I was talking to some friends the other day. We're doing this film study,
Mm,
and we kind of got off topic of the film, and we were just kind of talking about how we were feeling right now as actors, who are trying to do the thing. And we are just talking about the different ways that we're helping ourselves to stay in it, because so much of being successful in this business, at least what I've learned from many guests on the show, is that your capacity to weather the storm is a big determinant of whether or not you will see success in this business. And what's fascinating is like weathering the storm. I always thought of as like, oh, you just never stop, you never stop, never quit. And for you, what brought on your success was stepping away. 4-year break, saying, you know what, I'm done. And then coming back when you felt inspired. And it's awesome to hear that you came back. What it sounds like, freer than you were before, and then blessed with the opportunity to do such a special show.
To jump back in and that be the first full production paid opportunity to play Troy. Like, yeah, man, like, and then we just went from there, I just, without getting into any particular dogmas or doctrines, I just really feel that my spiritual connection is most important for me as an artist, because I really believe God loves artists.
Mm.
There's so much beauty and power in what we do, whether you're a painter or a photographer or a dancer or a writer or an actor or a director. Like, we're so moved by these mediums. I've been blessed to have been trained as a visual artist and then move into acting, and I can sing and I play instruments. And so I'm able to tap into a lot of those different mediums and live in my fullness as an artist. And I think that's what we all want to adhere to, is living in our fullness and being able to contribute to the world in a positive way, so we can move the needle into the positive, because so much about what we're seeing right now is the negative and the nihilistic and the lacking and the lower vibration. And we need art, even if it's holding up a mirror to all that nihilistic energy. We need that. And
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Now, outside of acting, how do you keep your well full?
Hmm.
And that question comes about, again, my friends, it was the same conversation that we also got on that topic. And so that's just kind of been on my mind lately, is like, yeah, the people who are doing pretty well, even the people who work super consistently like yourself, there's always time between contracts, So like, how do you keep your well full when you're not under contract?
Well, I'm looking at my bass right now off screen. That's like
Uh-huh.
my best friend. I play my bass a lot. I draw, I write. I love going out to dinner with friends. I love to
Uh-huh.
cook. But I think first and foremost, spending time with my children. I have a
Mm.
son who's 29. I have a daughter who's 15. My daughter lives in Toronto. So being able to get up there to see her on a regular basis is always a goal of mine.
Mhm.
Spending time with my son, interacting with him helps me stay grounded. And then working out is really important to me. Meditation is really important to me. Reading my Bible. Reading books that aren't just about acting, reading biographies. I'm also reading a biography of Sting right now, who's like one of my musical heroes.
Okay.
Um, and then also like coaching younger actors, coaching people in their auditions. Someone this morning called me a sensei. I don't know about that, but I like sharing. I like sharing information
Yeah.
with people. I always want to lead people to their own conclusions, because I don't want to just be like, being so dogmatic and just spitting out words.
Sure.
I want to help people get to their truth, because their truth is completely different from mine.
Hmm.
And then honestly, just traveling is really important to me. I love to fly. I love and then living in New York, bro. Like, living in New York, it fills your well almost on a daily basis.
Mm.
Just being able, the seasons are about to change, and there's a trail near my house, which I love it, man. It's Inwood Trail Park.
Wait,
Um,
you live up? I'm in Inwood.
oh, that's crazy. Look at you.
Yeah, I'm in Inwood. I'm in Inwood off of 204 and Post. Just told everybody where I live.
Looking right over where you live, because I'm on Broadway. I'm on Broadway between Academy and 204.
Oh, you're up the street. Man, we could have done this in person. You up the street.
Person, bro.
I'm crying. You are literally up the street.
I was
Wow.
just at the farmer's market right
Yeah.
before the log on. I was just over there, and I was like, "Oh, I gotta go.
I
I
was
gotta
just by there this
go to
morning.
the podcast."
I was just over on Park Terrace West this morning.
That's
Right.
oh, bro. Yeah, so this is what this
We
is
were
what
like, this
this is
morning we
what I'm
just walked
talking
past
about.
each other.
We probably have. Because you look familiar to me.
That's
I'm
crazy.
sure we've been on the A together at some point.
Yeah, that's
So
crazy.
so these kinds of something happened to me the other day in the supermarket. The one up on 207 off of
Yes.
207 in Broadway.
C-Town. Yeah.
C-Town. I was in C-Town and his brother came up to me. You were talking about The Wire. And he came up to me and he was like, because I was also in Luke Cage, second season Luke Cage.
Right.
And that's what a lot of brothers and sisters remember me from.
Mm-hmm.
And he came up to me and said, "Hey, brother, oh yeah, I was in the self-checkout and I saw him and he looked at me. And I don't go through the world thinking anybody knows who I am.
Sure.
I'm not Denzel. I'm not Jeffrey Wright. I'm not Adrian Brody, But people watch TV. People watch Blue Bloods. People watch Law and Order. And so he was about to walk out, and I was like saying, because I'm really cool with the manager over there, and I was talking to him, and he goes, "I'm sorry, brother. You're an actor, aren't you?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Man, you're really good, man. Like, I remember you on The Wire, and I saw you on Luke Cage, and you was just on Law and Order." And then and then I ran into him again across the street from C-Town, and he's like, "Yo, I'm talking to my mom. When we put her on speaker, I wanted to talk to you." So it's just like interactions like that, bro. Like, let me know that. And then, I always pray that I stay humble in it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's real easy to like get caught up and all that. But I'm just so appreciative that people appreciate what I'm doing. Because I remember when I first started out, when I literally first started out,
Mm-hmm.
I sucked. I was so bad, brother. I was just like, when I look back, I was like, man, I couldn't like drop in any way. And it's been a process, it's been I've been blessed to go to a couple conservatories. I worked with some people in London. And just to get where I am, like that fills my well as well to sort of sometimes, and it's gonna sound really like egotistical and narcissistic, but I print out my resume when I'm doubting myself.
Mm-hmm.
I print out my resume, I just read it. And I go, okay, all right. Done some stuff. You're good at this. Because I think we all have those moments. I was just talking to a really good friend last night where she really wants to develop into a really full-bodied, full-blooded actor who can go from role to role and embody different characters, but she still has, some modicum of self-doubt. And I said to her, if I may offer it to you, the fact that you aspire to that's a passion that you have means that you can do it.
Say that. Yeah.
If that seed is in you, like I grew up admiring Gary Oldman, Daniel Day-Lewis, Denzel, Sam Jackson, like all the heavy hitters.
Yeah.
But there was always like, oh, I can't do that. And then finally I had a really good friend who's, she's an ex-girlfriend. She's still in my life. She's in the business as well. And she started saying like, you can do the same thing. You can do your version of that. But you're not going to do what they do. It's going to be your version of it. And so that's what I would share with people who are listening to this right now. We kind of segued into that.
Yeah.
Is if you have desire and you feel like you can't do it, like there's a reading today in the Artist's Way daily companion book that I read where it talked about self-doubt is actually a sign that you're doing the right thing, because the consciousness, your consciousness is going to ask you, can you do this, which is going to lead you to answering that question. If you really want it. And I kept asking her last night, it's like, is this something you really want to do? She's like, yeah, but I have these. And I was like, well, just take it one step at a time, breathe through it. It's like you're building a bit, it's like you're constructing a building. You can't go to the top floor without creating the foundation. Yeah.
Come on. Can't go to the top floor without creating a foundation.
I'm gonna put that on a t-shirt, bro.
Okay, come on. Wow, facts. Another question I had for you, you work across many different mediums, film, TV, theater, commercial, voiceover. How do you manage the fluctuation in income? I know that's a big thing that we actors deal with, and maybe there's somebody listening to the show today who's, in a position where I know a lot of folks, even myself included, where it's like an opportunity comes along for you to go out of town, maybe do a regional theater thing, and you're like, these contracts just, aren't doing the thing. So how do you manage to work across so many different mediums?
It's a multi-headed attack. I think the first thing is I have faith that I'm always going to be taken care of and provided for.
Mm.
So I stay in prayer for provision. I believe that I will be taken care of, and therefore I put that energy out in the world that I will be taken care of. I have a manager and an agent team who are bulldogs who will fight for me. And sometimes we have to say, okay, well, they're not going to, like, especially theater stuff, they're not going to really budge. It's a favored nation contract, which means that everybody gets paid the same.
Yeah.
And so I'm good at budgeting. I'm good at, the people in my circle know I'm really big on cooking stews and eating
Okay.
off of that for 2, 3 days.
Okay.
I do a lot of my own cooking. I don't do delivery. I don't do a lot of delivery or takeout because that stuff honestly isn't as healthy as home cooking.
Sure.
Um, I like to look nice, so I like to present myself. So I shop at places where I can get discounts, and I take care of myself. I work out. I drink a lot of water. So I don't need a lot of maintenance, which requires money. Like I don't have
Sure.
a lot of doctor bills. I don't have a lot.
Sure. Sure. Sure.
Um, I think it just starts with belief. I think it starts with, I used to get hung up on that, like so and so's doing this Broadway show, and I'm here doing this thing in Merrimack, whatever, and but then I'm like, I'm not appreciating what I have. Like if I'm grateful for what I have, that would tell the universe that, oh, he is ready for more.
Mm.
But if you're constantly looking at what that other dude signed, that contract that Leonardo DiCaprio signed, or even someone on my relative peer group is doing, then you're taking the eye off what you've been blessed to do. Even if you're not doing a show, there's still things you could be doing. I also do teaching artist work. I coach. Um, there's been lean times, thank God for New York State unemployment. Uh, that, and I've been on food stamps.
Mm.
I'm not ashamed to admit that. I get subsidies from the state. I think that's one of the great things about New York. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with this current wave of whatever, but once,
Sure.
it's like I tell people, let's not worry. Let's just have faith that we'll be taken care of, because I think we will be.
Absolutely.
But yeah, man, first and foremost, I thank God for what I have.
Mhm.
And I know, and I thank God for, it's like what I've been taught in sort of not even the church, but it's in sort of my relationship to God is
Yeah.
you speak it as if it's already happened.
Mm.
So you say, I thank you, God, for this next role that you've given me, even when I don't even have an audition,
I
and
love
with the
that.
role comes money. And also I don't put the emphasis on money.
Mhm.
I put the emphasis on being of service to the production, the playwright, the director, whether it's a TV show or a reading or a full production of a play. The money will come, in my opinion, if you focus on service.
Mm.
The money will come. The money will be a side effect,
Mm.
a welcome side effect, which you need to eat. But in my opinion, if I go through life operating from lack, I will attract lack. If I go through
Mm.
life operating from abundance, I will attract abundance. I believe that.
Man, I'm over. I need to take some notes. Okay. I,
Women back, selector. Women.
okay. Shoot. I'll be listening to this episode when it comes out.
I
Um.
appreciate you, bro. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you, George. I got one final question for you.
Okay.
It's a question I ask all my guests,
Okay.
which is, what is your defining quality that sets you apart as an actor, as a storyteller?
Gravitas.
Mm.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, even if it's comedic work or like I just feel like I've been blessed with a with a weight. And at the risk
Yeah.
of sounding like I'm heavy, it's not that I'm heavy. It's just that once I figure out who this guy is,
Yeah.
I I'm this is who I am.
Yeah.
And he can be someone who moves through the space in a lighter way than, say, a previous character, but that's still his weight. Like I understand what my character's weight is and
Mhm.
how they relate to their surroundings, because George understands how he moves through the world and how he affects people and how he's affected by people. And then I can sort of say, okay, well, then I can imagine these given circumstances for this guy growing up the way he did, as creating the backstory and
Mhm.
given the blessing of the text, then I can say, oh, okay, well then this is how so he could be flighty. That's his weight.
Mm.
He could be heavy. That's his weight. He could be a middleweight, like sort of like almost on boxing terms. Like he's always on his toes,
Yeah.
That's his, I think physicality. And I would say as a 1A, active listening. Active listening. Like that is so important, brother. Like it to the point where sometimes that turns me on. That gets me like even describing it right now, I felt like this sensation right up in my chest.
Mm.
That gets me excited because I'm listening to what you're saying, and because I already know the lines, I know what I'm about to say because I've drilled them and drilled them and drilled them. So I'm just settled in. I'm taking in what you're giving me, and then I go, okay, so what about this? To me, those
Right.
like the moments that resonate for me from 2 Trains, because that's the last show that I did, is moments with Taji Sr., moments with just Jerome Preston Bass, moments with my boy Raphael, moments with Godfrey, moments with everybody that I had interactions with, where I'm listening to them and I know what I gotta say. And I'm like, oh, this is why you're saying that. Okay, well, August gave me this worse than this is what I'm gonna say to you.
Mm.
And when I'm doing that, I'm hearing the audience go, oh,
Yeah.
wow. That's how I know they're listening to me, listening to him. And now Raphael is listening to me. So it's that, bro, I'm telling you, man, that stuff is so exciting. It's sexy. It's sexy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Active listening. So I would say gravitas, if I could answer that with 2 parts, gravitas and the ability to actively listen
Yeah.
to what the other person is saying. And hear it. And take it in.
Well, George, like I said, I'm over here taking notes. And I can feel that gravitas you definitely carry it with you. And I really can't thank you enough for coming on the show today. This was
Thank you.
genuinely a treat and a pleasure.
Thank you.
I'm serious. I can't wait to listen to this back because there's so many, talking about dropping pearls. Like you were dropping so many pearls in this conversation.
Yeah.
So thank you. And I'm sure I'll see you around the neighborhood.
Bro, now that we know.
We'll make it happen. If you enjoyed this interview with George as much as I did, then you'll love the recent conversation I had with casting director Erica Jensen, where she discusses why it seems like celebrities are taking all of our jobs. Be sure to check that out. Huge shout out to our co-producers over at Red Letter Entertainment. We'll be back next Tuesday. Till next time, y'all. Peace.